Dear students, this is just a revision video of the fourth topic. The fourth topic is divided into three parts: 4.1, 4.2 and 4.3. In 4.1, we will discuss about Germany. Can the army be the architect of a nation? We will find the answer of this question through 4.1. In 4.2, you will know how Italy was unified. Italy, which was divided into different areas and ruled by different dynasties, it was unified. And how the process of unification took place, we will discuss about that in 4.2. In 4.3, we will discuss the strange case of Britain. How Scotland and Ireland came under Britain, you will know about that in subtopic 4.3. So let's start our revision. 4.1, the first subtopic, tells us about Germany. So the scenario of the whole Europe or the whole continent Europe actually changed after 1848. Now people, they were not so much interested in democracy and revolution. And also we have seen that the nationalist sentiments were often suppressed or mobilized by conservatives for promoting state power and achieving political domination over the continent Europe. After that, we have also observed that in the 19th century, the unification of Germany and Italy also took place. And this topic is all about Germany. So let's start the story of unification of Germany. Nationalist feelings were spreading among the middle class Germans in 1848, and they tried very hard to unite the different regions of German and to form a nation state which should be governed by an elected parliament. They tried very hard, students, to unify the different territories of Germany into one nation state under a parliament, but it was not successful. The motive of nation building was not successful because it was suppressed by the combined force of monarchy and military. And this monarch and army or military force were supported by large landowners of Prussia, and these large landowners were known as Junkers. From then, from that time period onwards, we have seen a particular change which took place in Prussia. Prussia, they took the whole responsibility to unify Germany, and in this way, the movement for national unification has started. So, in this particular process, one person, that is Otto von Bismarck, played a great role. Now, who was this person, Otto von Bismarck? Students, Otto von Bismarck was the chief minister of Prussia, and he had tried very hard to unify Germany, because Prussia now they took the responsibility to unify Germany, isn't it? So the chief minister, that is Otto von Bismarck, was also regarded as the architect of this process or the main person of this process, and he carried out the process with the help of Prussian army and bureaucracy. Over the time period of 7 years, there were 3 wars, and these 3 wars were against Austria, Denmark, and France. And as a result, we have seen that Prussia, they won the battle at last, and finally the unification of Germany took place. So, after the success or victory of Prussia in unifying Germany, The Prussian king William I was proclaimed as German emperor in a ceremony, and this ceremony was held at Versailles. Now, what happened in Versailles? In Versailles, this ceremony, the coronation ceremony of Prussian King William I or Kaiser William I was held, and he was made the German emperor. When the nation state, or you can say unification took place and unified Germany was formed, then we have seen that the new state placed a strong emphasis on modernizing the currency, banking, legal and judicial systems in Germany. And in that particular process also, Prussia played a great role. Prussian measures and practices were often became the role model for rest of Germany. So in this way, Germany was unified and new state which was formed placed a strong emphasis on modernizing currency, banking, legal and judicial system in Germany. That's all about unification of Germany. Here we have known how the combined Prussian army and bureaucrats with Ottoman Bismarck has unified Germany. That's why it is said that army can be or could be the architect of a nation. Okay, we find the answer, isn't it, of the question here in this topic. Now, 4.2. Before proceeding to 4.2, just look at this map. This is a map of unification of Germany. When Germany was unified, it looked like that. 4.2. Italy unified. So, during the middle of the 19th century, Italy was divided into 7 states. As I have discussed this, that Italy was divided into different areas and it was ruled by different dynasties. Only Sardinia Piedmont was ruled by Italian prince, and other territories of Italy was ruled by many dynasties. In the northern part of Italy, there was Austrian Habsburg. In the center, there was the Pope or Papal State. And in the southern part, there was the domination of Bourbon kings of Spain. Here I am not talking about Bourbon biscuit. Here I am talking about the Bourbon kings of Spain. Okay, who were in the southern region of Italy. So in this way we came to know that Italy was ruled or controlled by different dynasties. Even Italian language was not the only language which was used in the territory of Italy. Other regional and local languages were also used in this place, that is Italy. You can see one person on your screen. He is none other than Giuseppe Mazzini. Giuseppe Mazzini during the 1830s had tried very hard to unify Italy. He had also formed a secret society called Young Italy to achieve his goal, but he was not successful at all. After the failure of revolutionary uprising, both in 1831 and 1848, we have seen that the whole responsibility to unify Italy was now in the hands of Sardinia Piedmont ruler, and his name was King Victor Emmanuel II. You can see his picture on your screen as well. King Victor Emmanuel II tried very hard to unify Italian states through war, and he was also successful. In this process, Cavour, his chief minister, has played a great role. In the eyes of the ruling elites of this region, a unified Italy offered them the possibility of economic as well as political development. Now, the chief minister Cavour, you can see his picture on your screen. He had led the movement to unify the regions of Italy. He was neither a revolutionary nor a democrat, but he was a diplomatic person. Like many other wealthy and educated members of Italian elite, he spoke French very well, better than Italian, you can say like that. As a result, he built a very good relation with France, and the combined force of France and Sardinia Piedmont defeated Austrian force in the year 1859. The Austrian force who were there in the northern part of Italy were now defeated by the combined force of France and Sardinia Piedmont in 1859. As a result, with the defeat of Austrian force, the northern part of Italy came under Sardinia Piedmont. After that, we have seen one person, Giuseppe Garibaldi. He has tried very hard to unify Italy. He was supported by the local peasants in this process, and they had thrown the Spanish out from the Italian territory. The Spanish rulers who were there in the southern part of Italy were now thrown away from Italy by Giuseppe Garibaldi with the support of local peasants. After that, the unification process of Italy was successful. As a result, in 1861, Victor Emmanuel II was proclaimed as the ruler of United Italy. You can also see his picture, the picture of Victor Emmanuel II on your screen, as well as the picture of Italy after unification, how it looked after unification. So Italy basically it looks like this before unification. Now after unification it looked like this. After this, our last topic, hooray, is 4.3, the strange case of Britain. The model of the nation or nation state, according to some scholars, it is Great Britain. Now, how this Great Britain was formed, you will know about it in this topic. In Britain, the formation of nation state was not the result of a sudden revolution or sudden upheaval. Instead, it was the result of long drawn out process. There was no British nation prior to the 18th century. In the 18th century, there were people who were from different ethnic groups, and they used to live in this island, the island of Britain. And this ethnic group were English, Welsh, Scot, or Irish. All of this ethnic group had their own culture, own tradition, and their own political system. But with the passage of time, we have seen that this English, among the ethnic group, this English group, they had grew in wealth, and as a result their importance and power in this island expanded, and their influence over the other nations of the islands also expanded with it, with their development. So with the development of England, we have seen that England, they became powerful ethnic group of this island, and they started showing their influence over other nations of the island. that is over Scott and Irish. Okay, so how Scotland and Ireland became part of Britain, you will know about it. First, let us discuss about Scotland. How changes took place in Scotland. The English Parliament had seized power from the monarchy in 1688. So, in 1688, we have seen that there was the democratic power which was established in England. The English Parliament has took over the power from the ruler. In this way, the monarchical form of government came to an end and the whole power came in the hands of the English Parliament. And this happened in 1688. After that, the Act of Union was signed between England and Scotland in 1707. It resulted in the formation of United Kingdom of Great Britain. Now, England, they got power to impose their influence on Scotland with this act, which was signed in 1707 between England and Scotland. The British Parliament was very much powerful and they had started dominating the Scottish. They had suppressed the Scottish who had tried to fight back for their freedom. In this way, the Englishmen, they took the power and they took the power over this territory of Scotland, okay, and in this way Scottish, they came under England. The Scottish Highlanders or the people of this ethnic group, okay, that is Scots, they were not able to speak their own language, that is Gaelic language. Even they were not allowed to wear their national dress. In this way, English or the people of England had suppressed the Scots or the Scottish Highlanders. Many people who had not listened to this England or the people of England were thrown away from this territory or from their homeland. Now, the story of Ireland, how Ireland became part of Britain. Actually, Ireland suffered a similar fate. It was a country which is divided into Catholic and Protestant group. The English helped the Protestants of Ireland in order to establish their power over Catholic country. As a result, we have seen that Catholic revolts against British dominance were suppressed. After a failed revolt led by Ulf Tone and his United Irishmen, Ireland was forcibly incorporated into the United Kingdom in 1801. So, Wolfe Tone, he had tried very hard with his United Irishmen, with his group, to defeat the people of England, but he was not successful, and as a result we have seen that Ireland, it came under United Kingdom in 1801. Now a British nation was formed, and this newly formed British nation had spread their culture. It was dominated by English people, so they had spread their culture all over this newly formed British nation. The symbols of New Britain were British flag, national anthem, English language. It was promoted, and the older nation was now not the older tradition, was not now used in this newly formed nation, that is Britain. So that's all about this. So Ireland, here we have known that basically it was divided into Catholics and Protestant, and the English man, they were so cunning that they had helped the Protestant to establish their power in the Catholic country. In this way, Catholic revolts against British dominance or against English men were suppressed. Wolfe Tone, he had tried very hard with his group of United Irishmen to fight against England, but he was not successful at all. As a result, Ireland became part of United Kingdom in 1801. A newly formed British nation had symbol like the flag was the British flag, national anthem was selected by the English people, English language were used, so it was fully dominated by English people or the people of England, you can say like that. So that's all about this topic. I hope you have understood. Thank you and have a nice day ahead.